Ayy, look, yeah, ayy. I'm in the lab like Dexter, brand new batch he tested. I'm with all the extras, don't try and bitch, I'm pressure. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the New Media Podcast. I'm your host, Ya. We hope you enjoyed the last episode because, as always, today's going to be an even better episode. Of course, everyone's with me today. Got the whole crew with me. And today we're going to keep it short and simple. We got a couple games that we got to get into, Game 3 and Game 4 of the 2023 NBA Finals. So I say we go ahead and do that. But, of course, before we jump into our topic today, temperature check. How's everybody doing?
Man, part of the journey is the end. So, it seems like we're nearing the end. Finally, my streak of picking against my team, I think this time it actually goes to what I say. So it sucks, but it's been a long season, and I'm happy where we ended up.
Is it me or Aspen ain't been hitting the same? You know what I'm saying? It kind of it's been all right. You know what I'm saying? But it hasn't been that exciting in the finals. I don't know if you give me
I'll be objective as possible. Like for the casual viewer, the regular person that's watching this, or just the average person watching these finals, I'm not gonna sit here and say this has been a very entertaining finals. Game two, I'll give them. I think game 2 was probably the peak of this entire series so far. But outside of the other games, like I don't think I've seen a more boring series, quote unquote, since 2018, the Warriors and Cavs. So
for me, it's up there as in the playoffs this year. It's one of the most boring series. Kind of a little snooze fest here and there. Some games it gets blown out. Slow offense on one side of the ball, slow offense on the other side of the ball. But
like most people didn't even know there's a game on what was it, Friday? Yeah,
Friday. So for that, Wednesday they played Wednesday game 3, and then Friday they had that 1-day turnaround. And people were like, "Oh shit, I thought it was gonna be Saturday," but nah, they didn't get that 2-day turnaround. So yeah, for me it's been a little slow, but hey, I'm a real hoops fan, so I'm still tuned into it.
No, definitely, Big H. This finals, it doesn't necessarily have the traction that previous finals have had. There's not much going on. I do want to issue an apology to people who said that nobody wanted to watch a finals between the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat because coming out of Game 2 there's some high hopes, but these last few games that we're about to get into, man oh man, proves everybody right. But overall, regardless of the situation, I'm still going to be sitting here and watching these games. And I say we go ahead and get into them. So the last time we talked about this series, the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat were tied up 1-1 apiece. Denver getting game 1, of course, Miami getting game 2. And games 3 and 4 have been played. And so in game 3, the Denver Nuggets were able to win this game 109-94. And in game 5, the Denver Nuggets were again able to win on the road 108-95, sweeping the Miami Heat on their home floor, going back to Denver for a game 5 on Monday night. To seal their season off with a championship. So, of course, same format as always. We'll go game by game. I'll be off to you.
So game 3, like if I had to just overall give a quick outlook on how I see the series so far, it's like one for sure, like our offense has run out of gas. I mean, when you look at the Denver Nuggets, we've held them to below about 115 for the most part in the series. Actually, in fact, I don't think they've even scored more than 111. Yeah, 100. They have not scored more than 111 in this entire series. So, like, I think overall defensively, yes, I don't think we're stopping them. I mean, Jamal Murray and Jokic are still getting their games off, and in this last game, Bruce Brown and Aaron Gordon really terrorized us. But it just seems like overall our offense has just really lost the gas. I mean, Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin, and especially Max Strus. I mean, Max Strus this series has really, really struggled so far. In that game 3, I mean, Jimmy Butler was our best player. Bam really struggled from the field. I think he was 7 of 21, missing a lot of bunnies. I think both Jimmy and Bam were missing a lot of bunnies in that game. And, you're going to look at the stats and see, the Denver Nuggets, they had great paint defense, but when you're looking at that game, it just felt like guys were just missing layup after layup. And then we had no answer for that 2-man game. It's been a head scratcher for Spoelstra in this entire series trying to cover that 2-man game because one, do you blitz Jamal Murray and force him to be a passer? And so far in this series, I mean, as a passer, he's making the right reads. They don't have to be necessarily advanced, but he's making the right reads that they need. So he's getting it to the guys that are open. So that game 3, we kind of just try to play him one-on-one, which let him get to his spot. And every single time we were in drop coverage, he was killing us. He had 20 in that first half, and then we tried to switch it around, and Jokic started cooking. So it's like that. It's too much of a head scratcher. It's a combination of just personnel, talent, and our lack of shooting finally catching up with us. I think we finally have regressed in this, and a big adjustment for the Denver Nuggets. And I have to shout out Coach Malone for this. Is they stopped playing Jimmy Butler so hard. They stopped crashing on him and leaving guys open. They're basically saying, Jimmy Butler's gonna have to beat us, and Bam is gonna have to beat us as scores. That's exactly what the Nuggets game plan is. They're basically saying they're not gonna let anybody else beat us, and Jamal Murray and Jokic are generating way easier shots for themselves. It's been a tough ask, and then in Game 4, I mean, Aaron Gordon really caused problems, and that's the thing. Spoelstra, I feel like at this point he's out of counters for this team.
Next we'll talk about Game 4 after
sorry, but about Game 3, it's just like, do we let Jamal Murray get to his spot? Do we let him go to his drop coverage? Do we stay back? Do we switch that? Do we blitz him? I mean, it's just a head scratcher guarding that 2-man game. And, as soon as guys like Aaron Gordon and everybody else get involved, then what else can we do? So, Game 3 was a tough game. And if Bam and Jimmy aren't like basically scoring at their highest level, it's tough to keep up. So,
yeah, Game 3, man, it was a tough outlook. They're 2-star players, man. They outplayed your starting 5. Both those guys got a triple-double. One guy had 34. The other guy got 32, 10 assists both. One guy, I think, had 21 rebounds. Jokic, man, he turned up on the field that day, and Jamal Murray showed up even right next to him. Phenomenal play by them. First half, close game. I felt like you guys were playing well first half, and the second half, they kind of took off a little bit. And felt like the insertion of Christian Brown coming into that game, it kind of just switched it. You guys are playing in the zone. Jokic and Murray, they found a way to find him cutting every single time. There'll be either a mismatch on each one of those players, or they'll be coming in open. And help defense coming from either Struss or Gabe Vincent or Jimmy Butler's open, and then Christian Brown's right there just cutting magically. He's wide open for the dunk. And I feel like he had like 12 points going in that third quarter, that last 6 minutes of the third quarter. And that last play on Jimmy Butler, where, he hit him, he kind of leaned back,
shoulder,
finished that shot off. I was like, yeah, this series, got to wrap it up, man. These guys, they got, key players coming off the bench, new players coming off the bench, showing up, cooking up. Him, Bruce Brown, they, those 2 guys coming off the bench playing phenomenal. And, MPJ, he's been struggling, lately in this series. He's been struggling a lot. He can't find his shot. He can't find his groove. He's trying to attack the rim. He can't finish. But, guys like that coming off the bench, helping up the starters right there in big-time positions. It was a pretty close game when he came in, and it shows, And Aaron Gordon, another good, defensive day on Jimmy Butler. And for Miami, man, guys like Max Struss, nasty finals performance. This guy's averaging like 2 or 3 points. And that game, he shot 0 for 10 and 0 for 9 from 3. So, the consistency of your 3-point shooting has been down this series compared to the last 3 rounds where you guys have been shooting lights out. It's been bad. You guys, Duncan Robinson has, shown lights here and there. He's been one of the consistent guys coming off the bench, but Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Caleb Martin, Kyle Lowry, guys that have been playing phenomenal against the Knicks and the Bucks and the Celtics, they're not showing up against the Nuggets. And Jimmy right now, this series, he hasn't looked like the Jimmy that we've seen the last 3 rounds either. So for me, he's been struggling. That Game 3, he kind of looked like he struggled. He got some late time buckets, but to me, it's tough. And bam, that fourth quarter, that third quarter, those gimmicks on the layups that he was missing, he getting blocked by Bruce Brown, him getting met with Jokic up top, getting blocked, and him losing the ball multiple times, getting stripped down in the paint. He just got to play a little more aggressive. You got to chin the ball up. You got to keep that ball tight, because I feel like a couple of those possessions could have changed the game. They had great looks. He had great looks at the rim, and he was missing open looks. So, to me, this whole last couple of games, it's been tough for the Heat. Their shooters hasn't been in. Jimmy, their star player, hasn't been making it, and on the other guys on the other side, their star players has been showing up. So it's we'll talk about Game 4, but yeah, these guys got outplayed by 2 people. Starting 5 got outscored, out rebounded, out assisted by just 2 guys, and it's tough to end the game like that. So we'll see what happens when we talk about Game 4.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the stat sheet for Game 3, it's honestly ridiculous. How pretty much it was 2 on 5, and the Nuggets were able to win just based on their 2 guys performing at a superstar level. I thought the Miami Heat were going to come out with a sense of urgency. First NBA Finals game at home. since the LeBron James era in Miami, and the crowd was into it in the beginning. I thought they were going to feed off that. A lot of the role players that I thought would step up in these couple of games, honestly, they pretty much been no shows. None of the role players stepped up at all. And specifically in this game 3, everybody played trash. You look at Gabe Vincent, a guy that's been pretty solid for the Miami Heat, was solid in that game too. 7 points, 2 for 10 from the field. Max Strus, a guy who stepped up in game 2, went back down to earth in game 3, shooting 1 for 7, 3 points. Caleb Martin, a guy who pretty much helped his team get to the NBA Finals, 10 points in 31 minutes of play. Kyle Lowry, 9 points. Duncan Robinson, 9 points. A lot of these guys just didn't have. These guys weren't just on it in this game, and this was like a missed opportunity for them. And you would hope that these guys would come back in game 4 and kind of have even a bigger sense of urgency, but that wasn't the case. But to get back to this game, the Nuggets, honestly, Christian Brown, they can say that he won them this game. Jokic said that in the post-game presser. But honestly, the Miami Heat just had no answer for Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. And, Abdi's right. You're right. It's tough for Spoelstra to kind of, game plan for these two guys, because if you switch, then Jokic has the mismatch. If you blitz, then Jamal Murray's making the right read. He has over 10 assists in all these 4 games so far. And so, like, the Denver Nuggets can't do no wrong in this situation. And you would think that, the series would be closer, knowing guys like, Aaron Gordon, the first game he did well, game 4 he did well, but 2 and 3 kind of just been all right. Michael Porter Jr., a guy who's been very solid for them, hasn't found his footing in this series whatsoever. He's pretty much been not unplayable, but close to unplayable, playing about 20 minutes in, these last couple of games. Bruce Brown kind of stepping up here and there, but not really the Bruce Brown of the playoffs so far, where he's been stepping up in series against like Los Angeles Lakers, the Clippers, actually not the Clippers, the Suns and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jeff Green, being the old age that he's at, not really contributing whatsoever, but it was honestly just tough for the Miami Heat in the situation to kind of just figure out a game plan for these two guys. And I said it in our last episode, Jamal Murray game twos aren't necessarily good to him, and I knew somehow, some way he was going to find his footing. I just didn't think it'd be at this level. Pretty much being the best player on the floor alongside Nikola Jokic from time to time. And so, overall, it's a good one for the Denver Nuggets. Their defense has been tremendous. That's one thing I do want to highlight. It's been a very defensive battle between these two teams, but I think the Denver Nuggets have the edge for sure, because outside of game 2, the Miami Heat haven't cracked 100 points. And so, they're doing a great job on that side of the ball. And then on offense, they're getting pretty much every look that they want, and all their shots that they're taking are falling. So all the credit in the world to them. And now we go ahead and move on to game 4. Denver Nuggets win 108-95.
Yeah, this one, again, this time we decided to switch how we guarded Jamal Murray, and it was paying dividends in this game. I mean, he shot 5 of 17. I think multiple possessions where Bam switched out on Jamal Murray. I think we did a good enough job, when we were guarding him. But then you get contributions from Aaron Gordon. See, that's the thing about this Denver Nuggets team. It's a puzzle trying to figure them out, because you switch, Jokic is gonna kill you. If you don't switch, they're gonna get to their spots. Jamal Murray's gonna walk into that mid-range jump shot. This time I think we basically doubled Jamal Murray, Bam, and then Jokic got a couple threes that are wide open, and he kind of had an ankle tweak in this game, but even then he was getting open. And if someone were to blitz, there's a play, for example, Bam went to Jamal Murray, then Jimmy Butler had to step up to cover Jokic, and then he dumped it off to Aaron Gordon. He basically just had a layup where he wasn't even looking at the basket, just caught it and just laid it up behind him. So multiple plays where Aaron Gordon is literally just sitting at that dunker spot, and then he's pushing the ball in transition, and he hits the occasional corner 3, and then Bruce Brown in that fourth quarter just put the finishing touches on the game. He had 11 of his 21 in that fourth quarter. It's just a lot of these guys just come in for the Nuggets, and they're basically doing what the Heat were doing, just at a different level in these finals. I mean, you have last game it was Christian Brown, and this game it was Aaron Gordon and Bruce Brown just come in and contribute right away. Kevin Love and Kyle Lowry gave us a spark, but outside of that, again, I mean, Bam had 21, but that was on 19 shots. He was missing some gimmies. Jimmy Butler, I felt like early on he wasn't as aggressive as we needed him to be, but he grew into the game. But then it's back to the role players, and I just feel like the role players have hit their ceiling in this game, and it's reminiscent of how we were all season long. And this is what, if people really wanted a picture of how we looked all season long and why we were 8th seed, this is basically it. I mean, and it's kind of ironic now, the more that I think about it, like at this point now, we probably would have needed Tyler Hero. It's kind of hilarious thinking about it, but now at this point, Max Strus and Gabe Vincent, and I feel like everybody's kind of hit their ceiling of who they are as a player. But Tyler Hero, I think he could have really helped out in this series at this point because we're lacking a spark from a third guy. It's just not there from anybody else. Kevin Love gave us a boost and Kyle Lowry gave us a boost, but that's not sustainable. So Aaron Gordon and Bruce Brown just absolutely punished us inside, and we kept Jamal Murray under wraps. So it's like, what else can we do? And Michael Porter Jr. isn't even going off. So how can you even cover this team? It's just a combination of personnel, how good the Nuggets are, and just overall lack of talent. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it's tough to beat a team when two of their role players, they combine for almost 50 points. Just their two of the role players, not even the star players. So, for Aaron Gordon to go off for 27 and Bruce Brown to go off for 21, it's phenomenal. Aaron Gordon looked like he was open almost every play. You guys went to go double Jamal Murray, he'd be cutting in, or he'd just be sitting in that dunker roll, or he'd just be getting the offensive rebounds, and every basket for him looked like it went in. Even the threes, he's been a horrible shooter this playoffs, but he went 3 for 4 that day. So for him to come in, drop 27, Jokic tweaking his ankle, Jamal Murray shooting 5 for 17, for them two to come in and show up like that is.
And Jokic was in foul trouble that fourth quarter.
Jokic was in foul trouble too. I think he had 5, right?
Yeah.
He had 5, and they went on a little run when Jokic sat out too. That's the funny part,
Yep.
Without Jokic for like a good 5 or 6 minutes, you guys couldn't do nothing against them, and
Yeah.
they're finding their spots. I feel like Murray had a couple shots that he hit going into that fourth quarter, especially like he had like 2 or 3 shots, and it's big shots, especially when you made only 2 shots throughout the whole game, and you come in the fourth and get 3 shots in. Is great, but for Murray though, he's kind of fixed his game up with the assist. Ending up with 12 assists, game 4 again, and it's again, that happens when you double team, and that happens when guys like Bruce Brown and Aaron Gordon are always cutting, or they're always in that right position, or they're pushing on the fast break and they're running with the ball. They're gonna get their shots, and Jamal Murray's gonna fight him. And Jokic, another, he had an okay day, 23 points, 4 assists, 12 rebounds. Not more else he can do. Fighting an ankle injury, foul trouble, play phenomenal. And for the Heat, yeah, the juice ran off for the role players. Guys like Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, both of them combining for 2 points. They played horrible. Spoelstra cut their minutes very short. I think they only played like 18, 19 minutes each. He kind of took them out the game. Started to play Kyle Lowry, Caleb Martin more, but it's tough for the Heat when their role players are not showing up and the star players are not playing up to par just like their star players. That's what it showed going into finishing off game 4. And I feel like game 5, man, I feel like Heat mentally they're shut out. Guys like Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, they unplayable this series. So for them to be on the court 15, 20 minutes, it's a loss. For them, they're not helping offensively. They're getting cooked defensively, and they're just bodies on the court. So it's basically 3-on-5, and sometimes Kevin Love's not there to help out either. So it's basically just Bam and Jimmy what they can put together. And other than that, I don't see the Heat finishing this off or getting another W. So I called it a gentleman's sweep. Game 4, same as game 3, same score line. That's like what, 3 out of the 4 games so far they haven't scored above 100 points. Where's the offense going to come from? So it's tough, and that's what we talked about even before the series. We talked about Tyler Hero coming back, and he can be that scorer that they need, even if it's off the bench. That guy that can create his own shot, get his own bucket. That's what they need. And sooner or later, these role players, their juice was going to run out. Tyler Hero could have been that guy to step up and kind of switch up the offense right there where they needed it most. But he still need to come back from that hand injury, but. Yeah, it's tough for the Heat, man. They've been fighting all day, but like Abdi said, they're showing why they were an 8 seed all year long, and that's how they've been playing in the season. So,
yeah, man. Game 4. I mean, the series at this point, 2-1. Going into game 4, my thoughts were pretty simple. I thought the Miami Heat were going to be able to, protect home court for a little bit. They lost it. But at the same time, it's whatever. You lose a game. This is the way the series goes. You just got to do your job each and every game. And I thought the Miami Heat were going to come out extremely aggressive. And in the first quarter, it looked a little bit flat, but at the same time, the Nuggets, they did come out flat as well. So, the game was kind of steady in that regard. But, I mean, when you look at it, Jokic goes down with the ankle injury. It was kind of scary at one point. I'm over here thinking, he might be out for a little bit, or that's going to swell up and he's not going to play at his level. And somehow, some way he was able to come back from that because, the adrenaline and all that. But You know, the Denver Nuggets, man. They're this is why they're a championship contending team, because at the end of the day, when your two superstars aren't playing at, like, you know, crazy superstar levels like they were in Game 3, a lot of the guys that they have can beat you in different ways. And in this particular game, you know, it was Aaron Gordon and the Bruce Brown show. Aaron Gordon really putting up 27, 7, and 6. I don't think I've ever seen him put up a stat line like that ever in my life. And Bruce Brown really just turned into Kobe in that fourth quarter. I think he got 11 of his points in that fourth quarter, getting every shot that he wanted, getting downhill to the basket with Bam in the paint waiting for him, and making contested layups, making a step back three to really ice the game. You know, the Nuggets role players really just excellent in every part of this game. And for the Miami Heat, man, you know, Max Strus, you know, game 1, we gave you a little bit of a pass. Game 2, you came back, you started off the game hot. Game 3 was whatever, but now in game 4 you have 0 points in 18 minutes, over 3 from 3. I can't lie, buddy. China's calling your name. The Shanghai Sharks might need a shooting guard, and you might be that guy to fit that situation alongside Dylan Brooks next season. So, you know, I honestly don't think this guy is any good for this team. I'm not too sure if he's going to somehow, some way land a contract with any other team in free agency, but you know, another guy that I'm very disappointed in is Gabe Vincent. You know, he was very aggressive the first 3 rounds, and all of a sudden we get to the NBA finals and you kind of start off hot, but next thing you know, you go ghost. 2 points, 1 for 6, over 4 from 3. It's like, at that point, what are you doing out there on the floor? It's kind of tough for Spolestra to give you minutes when you're not necessarily producing. And, you know, Caleb Martin, 32 minutes, Kyle Lowry, 32 minutes, Duncan Robinson, 25 minutes. You know, they got 11, 13, and 12 from those guys, but you know, at the end of the day, it's not going to be enough to beat this Denver Nuggets team. And the Denver Nuggets continue to show why they're the more complete team. And honestly, for me, you know, I'm sick of it, you know, saying that Tyler Hero should have played in this series, because, you know, my statement is true and it stands correct. I feel like that's what they needed in the series. They need a third scorer. They need a secondary scorer alongside Jimmy Butler. And, you know, Jimmy Butler playing on pretty much one ankle. You know, he's trying to do the best that he can. And then Bam contributing as he's been so far. You know, not necessarily, the shot hasn't been the greatest, but, you know, defensively he's trying to do his best, and he's doing a very good job rebounding and kind of getting the buckets where he can. But outside of those two guys in Miami, have nobody else they can resort to. And so it is what it is. You know, he's out for game 5 tomorrow night. So, you know, it might be the last game of the NBA season, and Tyler Hero will not be in uniform for this team. But one thing I do want to say overall is I think we've been blinded by the Miami Heat underdog run because of, you know, based on who they really are as a team. You know, I think, you know, obviously they beat the Milwaukee Bucks. They came into the playoffs, do the play-in tournament, losing the first game, and they defied all the odds. You know, they beat the 1 seed Bucks. You know, they beat the New York Knicks. They beat the Boston Celtics, and now they're here in the NBA Finals. And a lot of people, you know, gave them their praise and their flowers as you know, they've earned that. So, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like right now, the way I see it, the Miami Heat are pretty much they're exactly like a March Madness team that's like a 12th, 11th seed making all the way to the Final Four in the NBA in the March Madness NCAA championship game. Like we see it every year. There's one college that just somehow, some way goes through all these top teams and they make it pretty far. And when they lose, it is what it is. But like the Miami Heat, all their flaws are being put on display. You know, obviously Jimmy Butler is going to do the best that he can, and Bam's going to be Bam. But outside of that, no, they pretty much have no protection from everybody else. And so, you know, if I'm a Celtics fan, if I'm a Bucks fan, if I'm a Knicks fan, I'm sick to my stomach. There's just no way, you know, I'm sitting here watching the NBA Finals and I'm like happy or just like whatever. My feelings are just whatever, because like these guys that are not showing up now were killing you, you know, just a couple weeks ago. You know, guys like Caleb Martin, who won you the series in Boston, pretty much just a regular normal role player in the specific series. Gabe Vincent, Max Strus in the Knicks series and the Bucks series. Those guys are the same thing. You know, they're not producing at their level. And so, you know, if I'm a fan of any of those 3 franchises, I'm extremely pissed, because it's like, you know, these guys just somehow, some way went off on us for 2 weeks and they ended our season. And now that they made it all the way this far and they're showing who they really are, they're showing their true colors. And so, you know, the Miami Heat, it's going to be tough for them to go into a hostile environment in game 5 in Denver. You know, of course, the Denver Nuggets got the eyes on the prize, and they know that there's all it takes is just one game, you know, one game to seal the season and end the season off in championship fashion, and they're on their home floor, you know, to add to all that. And so it's going to be a tough, tall task. But at the end of the day, man, I think the Miami Heat, they're finally unraveling, showing us who they really are as a team. And, you know, now they go into this offseason with everything that we've talked about throughout the regular season. You know, what are they going to do to help this team get over the hump? You know, because making the finals once again, but not we're not winning it. It's one thing, but when you keep getting to the Eastern Conference Finals and you keep getting this far into the season, you can't get over the hump. As a franchise, as a GM, as an owner, you got to ask yourself, what are you going to do to help this team to finally achieve the main goal? And so it's going to be interesting to see. Game 5. I'm pretty sure. I think we can all agree that the way this series has been going, the Denver Nuggets will close it out in Game 5, and the NBA season will be done right there and then. And after that, we got the off season, man. We got the NBA draft after that. But without us jumping into all of that, I think that's all I got to say on that. If you guys have any final words, let me know.
I think, like, if I had to just give my keys for a Game 5, it's just in reality, it's just shooters showing up. That's like the best thing that's really possible at this point, because I think defensively it's hard to keep Denver under wraps, and it's great. The fact that they still haven't scored over like 111 and they're still producing at this level is just ridiculous to me. So at this point, it's just a matter of just shooters showing up and everybody laying it out on the line in this Game 5. That's the only thing left. There's not much to say. It's just shooters showing up.
Where does Jokic stand in legacy wise after this ring?
I think he has an argument for a top 15 for sure. I think he has a really good argument for a top 15 player.
Where do you guys have Giannis right now?
I have him basically borderline top 15.
I mean, well, we look at Giannis's resume. It's Finals MVP, Finals,
Two-time MVP,
two-time
Defensive Player of the Year,
Defensive Player of the Year.
Couple All Pros, couple All Stars,
All NBA. I mean, borderline top 15 for sure. I think they kind of need more silverware or more hardware to kind of crack that top 10 or top 12. But I mean, Jokic, it's going to be a lot of uncomfortable discussions, man. I think, the one guy that's probably going to get the most heat this entire offseason, once the Nuggets win is, number one, being Joel Embiid. And, simply because obviously their whole MVP race and that ended how it ended. Obviously Jokic playing at a high level throughout the course of the playoffs. Everyone kind of had, weird questions about who he is as a playoff performer and stuff like that. And for him to kind of go through the season that he went through and then now cap it off with a championship and potentially a finals MVP, it's going to be a lot of uncomfortable discussions. But I think, overall, he's solidified himself as the best player on the planet so far. I don't think there's a player that's pretty much close to him. And obviously the best player on the planet kind of changes every year. Obviously last year it was Steph Curry, but now going into this upcoming season, it will be Nikola Jokic. And I think it's going to be a while until somebody kind of overtakes that number one spot, because when you look at Nikola Jokic's game, I just can't see, him slowing down whatsoever, because obviously he's going to be the scorer that he is, going to be a solid rebounder, but his facilitating just really gives him an edge over a lot of guys. And even though he doesn't play any defense, and a lot of people always like to highlight that, but it's kind of hard to expose Jokic in any situation. Like, teams have tried, every team they've tried, the Timberwolves, the Suns, the Lakers, and the Miami Heat, they've tried, but it's just not going to work. The Denver Nuggets, credit to them, they've done a hell of a job at hiding him on the defensive end, but still, it's just their
and even
team
on
is,
some level, like defensively, like he's not the greatest, but like at least with him, he has like some good level of activity with his hands and his swipe downs and trying to get to contest. And a big part of defense is the rebounding, and he's like, you can make a case he's easily the best rebounder in the entire league with how good he is on the glass. I mean, he just has that quick little jump and the long arms. So I mean, defensively he cleans up well, and then he gets steals and deflections. So, and of course you have Aaron Gordon and MPJ next to him. So that's like good sizable defenders, and KCP on the perimeter, and Christian Brown and Jamal Murray. So I feel like you're right that they built like at least a strong system around him, to the point where, he doesn't have a Facu Campazzo and Austin Rivers out there on the perimeter,
I mean, when it comes to defense, obviously it just comes down to effort. If you're not showing effort on that side of the ball, it's going to be a long day for your team. But I think Jokic, to a certain degree, he shows a little bit of effort on the defensive end. He might not get the blocks and it might not look nice, but at the end of the day, it gets the job done and it works for this team. And, they've gotten this far with him not being the greatest rim protector. But, at the end of the day, teams haven't been able to expose that. And so, for the Miami Heat, for Game 5 and the Nuggets in Game 5, the Nuggets, they just got to continue what they're doing. Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, they got to make sure they put the dagger in this team. You don't want to give this team any life. The role players, obviously role players will play better at home, and I think they'll be all right. Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter might get a little bit more minutes. Christian Brown, Bruce Brown, those guys will be just fine. And then for the Miami Heat, I mean, they just kind of have to have a game similar to game 2, where all their guys are on fire from 3. They set the tone pretty early, and then kind of Jimmy Butler and Bam kind of take them home. However that may look at this point in the playoffs, but I think even though the Miami Heat, they've been tested, throughout the course of this playoffs, especially in that series against Boston, where, they were up 3-0 and they kind of blew that 3-0 lead and they had a game 7. And, we all know they're a mentally tough team, but I think at this point, they're drained mentally and, physically they're exhausted because of all the games they had to play. And so it's just all of that is now just catching up to them. And it's just going to be extremely tough to go into that environment in Denver, where that arena is going to be extremely rocking. It's going to be loud from start to finish. And I just can't see a way for the Miami Heat to kind of overcome all of that and have them come back to game 6 in Miami. And so, we're gonna let the chips fall where they may. Of course, we'll be right here to talk about it. But I think with that being said, we'll go ahead and close out the episode here. But any final words before I do that?
See y'all game 5, man.
Yeah, man, game 5, man. I hope it's interesting. I hope we see some fireworks.
At this point, I don't know what I can pray for, man, but I'm just hoping for an entertaining game, but we'll see what it comes out to be on Monday night. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and close out this episode here. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Really appreciate your love and support. We'd greatly appreciate it if you like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at New Media Podcast. And for those of you that are watching us on YouTube, all of our social media handles will be at the end of this video. And if you're listening to us on Apple and Spotify, if you go to our Instagram page at New Media Podcast, you'll be able to navigate yourself to all of our social media handles there. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Record a new hit, then we making us a film. Wouldn't sign a deal if I got a couple mil. Been in the lab, now they throwing out deals. Yes, me and now late, now that's overkill.